Insecurity has over the years been a major challenge in Nigeria. And when Bola Ahmed Tinubu took over power as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on the 29th of May 2023, he promised to tackle the issue of banditry and terrorism head on. And the question now is how far so far in the last 2 years of his administration, how well has he been tackling the issue of terrorism in Nigeria? And we seek to answer these questions, among some other questions bordering on security in Nigeria, on today's edition of the program, Trending from the Stables of Pensioners 106.7 FM. On behalf of the producer of Trending, Babatunde Tiamiyo, the DC on duty, Oluwaseun Awoyemi, MC Prince, and the entire members of the production crew, I am Israel Dejumobi, and I welcome you to Trending on Pensioners 106.7 FM. You're on to Trending on Pensioners 106.7 FM. Like I established at the beginning of the show this morning, we shall be taking a look at security under Tinubu's watch in the last 2 years. How far so far when it comes to tackling the issues of banditry and terrorism in our dear nation, Nigeria. And that will be our focus on today's edition of the show. And of course, my guest is right here with me in the studio and ready to do justice to this topic this morning. I've been joined in this conversation by a media consultant and public affairs analyst and the person of Mr. Desunbo Badijoko. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Israel. Good morning, our listeners and viewers.
It's good to have you around on the show this morning. And happy new month.
Happy new month to you.
Thank you so much once again for joining me on the show. So this morning, we're taking a look at President Bola Tinubu's administration, 2 years. When it comes in the area of security now, what have been the gains, and of course, what are some of the emerging challenges in the area of security? But before we talk about that, let's quickly talk about what happened in Niger State, in Mokwa local government area, where an incident of flooding occurred last Wednesday. About 200 people have lost their lives and many have also been displaced. I could recall that earlier in the year there was a warning from NIMET, to various states of the Federation as regards flooding. The question is it that we don't learn our lessons in Nigeria? Because the same thing happened in the year 2024.
It shows how nonchalant those who are supposed to respond to early warning signals are about those signals. Because, of course, there has been a warning. A serious government at the state level would have taken proactive measure to prevent that. There's no doubt that Niger, Kogi, Benue, those are the three states that are on the belt of the river Nigers and Benue. And of course, whenever the water starts coming from the sky, river banks will overflow. And of course, the communities around the banks will be flooded. And despite the warning, people still not, they didn't heed to the warning, and of course, we have the disaster. Flood is a natural disaster, but once there are signs, early warning signs that it's going to happen, the right thing to do is evacuation. You don't have to wait till it comes upon you before you now begin to imagine 200 lives. That's just the numbers counted. According to reports, over 1,000 is still missing. So when you have 1,000 people still missing, meaning that they've also been washed away by the flood, they just could not recover their body or ascertain whether they survive it or not. That's huge. That is very, very huge. And the lesson to learn is what other states, especially Kogi and Benue now, Kogi precisely, because that's where the confluence is located, should learn from it. And of course, from Kogi, Edo, and Anambra State. Those are the areas that usually have flood associated with the overflowing of River Niger. Now, other states like Oyo, Ogun also need to watch out. There's another warning now. I think from tomorrow we are to experience
Rains,
some torrential rains
thunderstorms as well.
that would also that may lead to flooding. Well, give it to Oyo State. I think I've been seeing some dredging and all of that. And of course, they've been evacuating some canals, which is the right measure. But the people too need to be orientated fast. We need to criminalize indiscriminate dumping of refuse in Oyo State. Yes, the Commissioner for Environment is trying, but he shouldn't limit his effort to the marketplace. There are so many things going on in the communities too, and along the roads. You see people in cars drive from their houses, and they will park the cars. Some will even fling the refuse from inside their car, and you look at them and say, "But this is supposed to be an educated person." And you begin to ask questions, meaning that what, and they are comfortable. If you can own a car and be maintaining it in Nigeria of today, then you are comfortable. Then you should be able to afford maybe a PSP service, or you look for other measure to really deal with. At least there are some waste bin that's being positioned in strategic places. Drive it down to that place and drop it there. At least government vehicles will come and evacuate from there. Don't just fling from your vehicle. These are things that we see virtually on a daily basis, and it's not good enough. Now imagine a rural community like the environment in Mokwa, which, and I think the topography is plain, and when it comes like that, the water would come and will not even go until a while. That's the situation with the thing, and it usually comes with epidemics because it's been flushing all manner of pollution right from the source down to where it will now be flooded. So these are things, and that's another thing that the government should be doing now, sanitizing and fumigating of those areas that the flood had ravaged, so that epidemic will not also follow that. Because we know we have not fully recovered from cholera in some countries, which some places in the country, which I want to believe the Niger State government would not fold their hands and just be watching or assume that all is well. But we commiserate with the victims of the families of the victims who have lost their lives and those who have been displaced as a result of the incident.
All right, let's get straight into the major business of the day, which centers around President Bola Tinubu's second year in office. Security in view now. Before we talk about that, what are your reflections? It's been 2 years now since Bola Tinubu, took over power as the president of Nigeria. What are your reflections?
I wouldn't know the area you want me to reflect upon.
A general assessment, of his administration.
General assessment, if I'm to give a scale of 1 to 10, I will give 4.
That's not a pass mark.
It's let my people go in those days. That is it, because we look at it holistically. The elites have benefited from his policies. Forget the noise that the politicians among them are making. They have all benefited. And I give an instance. For instance, the values of stocks have increased by 111%. Those are the investors in stocks. But they are the same people using their mouth because they know the masses have not benefited, wanting to like steer a kind of uprising from the masses. But the truth is, I will not follow you because I know you have benefited and you are being mischievous. I would rather fight my own fight and cry that, Oga President, you do not exist only for the elites. We are even the majority. And whatever you are doing that doesn't affect our own life positively, it's as good as if you are not done anything. So that's the way I can summarize what has been happening in the past 2 years.
Okay, so it has been benefiting the elites,
Yep.
and and not necessarily the poor.
No.
Okay, that's your own submission.
Yes, because through the elites have so much money to throw around. Those who are in government has a lot of money to throw around, and they are throwing it around, buying in bulks, and the rest of us are struggling. For instance, if you are struggling to buy a Congo of rice and somebody comes and buy 3 bags at once, he has bought the quantity that about 100 people are struggling to buy. And when you look at the aggregate, the government will look at the aggregate, there's no reduction. They will think that their policy is working. That's why we are not seeing the same thing. We are not evaluating the policies in the same way. They are looking at the aggregate figure. Aggregate demand has not really dropped significantly. So to them, the policy is working. Business people are making money. The poor could not afford, but the rich can afford to buy a surplus, an extra to give out to their cronies. You understand?
So that's government for the rich.
A bag of cement is 11,000, but construction has not stopped anywhere. So, but the poor people could not even afford to buy a block, a mode of a concrete block of 9 inches that are 1.5 now. So when you look at all of that, it's out of the reach of the poor, but the elite could afford because they have enough money now. So what I will say in the next 2 years, he should consider the masses. He has satisfied his own class of people, but we are the majority and we hold the numbers. So that's the only thing I can say for now.
Well, on the flip side, the president, while highlighting some of his achievements in office, especially as far as the nation's economy is concerned, he said that there's been an increase in GDP, now external reserve from about $4 billion to $23 billion, among some, other achievements in that respect. Also, increase in foreign direct investments, and all of these indices to him means that indeed we are progressing.
That is what I'm saying. That's what they are looking at. But we are looking at the standard of living. You understand? Those policies, especially the Naira devaluation, would work best when we have capacity to produce. But we are importing 90% of what we consume. And because of that, luxury items, even household items, are on the high side. Despite the fact that we have refineries now, the fact that the exchange rate has changed and the product, the crude oil, is determined by international price, and that is the price that the refinery also gets the product from, is not reflecting much on the price of petrol. And you know how petrol connects virtually everything that we are involved in this country. And that is why the prices are still high. But those who are benefiting on the flip side could afford, while the majority cannot. So that's the problem that we are facing at the moment. And until the government begin to see it from the real sense, how has your policy affected the average standard of living, then maybe they have a rethink.
All right, now let's talk about security, which is the major focus of today. Now, in the area of security, many people have argued that there has been a reduction, in the rate of security breaches all across the nation in the last 2 years as compared to what we saw under the Buhari administration. Do you agree with such people?
They will be right if we go back to like January. But now they may be wrong. Because whatever is happening in Benue and Plateau now, those states, Samfara, contradicts whatever narrative that you want to argue with. We cannot even call that breach again. It's collapse of security in those axes. And it's becoming to appear or to graduate from the level of ethnic cleansing to outright genocide. The Benue example. Just yesterday, 58 again. So when you look at that figure, you begin to ask questions. Do we have leaders that are actually responsible? That have human feelings? That have conscience within them? These are questions that we will be asking ourselves. How can your citizen be killed en masse by some strangers in quotes? And they are not strangers as far as I'm concerned. They are known people. They are not invisible. But those who are their masters are the ones giving protections to them. So why can't you do something about it? And if you are so overwhelmed, like the usual excuse, the military is overwhelmed, the police is overwhelmed and all that, fine. Allow states to have their own police. That will naturally solve the problem. Because in as much as those criminals know that they will not have the protection of the rank and file of the federal police and the military, they will not go near a community where those are securing the place do not answer to their masters. But the government, both the legislature and the executive, have been playing lip service with the issue of state policing. Okay, fine. If you cannot guarantee state police, localize the federal one. Deploy everybody back to their state of origin. Let's see whether they will not defend their environment. You still would not do that. You still prefer to post a Yekini to Enugu State. You bring an Inamdi to the north, and you bring an Abdullahi to southwest. He doesn't understand the language. He doesn't understand the terrain. How will he provide security, adequate ones, to those environments? Those are issues that we are dealing with. In the name of federal character, the freedom of movement and association. Look, there are some things that every rule has exceptions. When you see that obviously what you are putting in place is not working, the right thing for a sensible and responsible leadership to do is to change your tactics. For the insurgency, what is happening in Borno is also a sabotage of the effort that the governor there has been. Imagine how come it is when they are about to resettle people into some communities that the thing resurge again. I mean, some people do not want that to happen. You understand? So these are issues. Suppose the man have the power to create a state police, he would have used the state police to. Now let's see how the criminal will come and confront those ones who do not answer, because he will recruit as many as possible that will secure the state right from the border of the state. Not until they will not allow them to get to those communities. But that's the situation we are dealing with. So it's like the graph is like an inverted U shape. They achieved some things by us not having mass kidnaps and of course reduction in the attack on military installation and all that. But of recent, in the last 3 months, we've had series of attack on military installations. We've had mass kidnap, like the one in, I think, Benue too. About 24 people, a full load of a bus, were kidnapped and marched into the bush. We've not had that virtually throughout 2024. But now we are having it at the time that politicking about 2027 is getting to its peak. And you think some people are not playing politics with human lives.
Some people have also identified politics as one of the factors responsible, for what we are seeing right now, for the resurgence of banditry and terrorism.
Obviously, because now let me just give this analogy. If you take a critical look of those areas where these things are predominant, Benue, Plateau, these are areas that usually do not go with the core north. As in the core northern oligarchy, they usually do not go with them. You understand? So they see themselves as usually compromising for the core north. And now the core north is asking for power shifts. And they want the presidency. Even though they did 80 years before this current one come, I wouldn't know any right thinking one among them that will be thinking in that line. So, and they have to inflate the attack around those areas because these are sponsored. And where I will blame the government is that they cannot claim, the president cannot tell me that his intelligence reports on this table has not fingered some people. Why has he decided to be looking at them? Yes, there will be noise. They will say you are attacking your political opponents. Let them shout. In as much as will guarantee security for your people, provide evidence. Nigerians will support you. It's only the politicians and their own families that will make noise. But when you allow criminals to be showing muzzle, to be going scot-free unpunished, then every other person with similar tendencies already have a green light to also continue to perpetrate their own evils. That's why we are here right now. And until there is seriousness at the level of the government, you can't be playing, okay, at least your people are the ones in charge. That is what I think is in the mind of the president. Because if you look at all those heading our security apparatus, all of them are northerners.
Now, still talking about the gains of this administration as far as security is concerned, it has been established that there has been increase in budgetary allocation to security sector in the last 2 years. Of course, insurgents have been neutralized. About 3,496 insurgents have been neutralized. 121,000 terrorists and their family members have surrendered to the military. Over 30,000 suspects, have also been arrested across operations targeting bandit camps, kidnappers dens, and terror cells. So, and some communities have also been reclaimed from the arms of bandits. So some people will say that all of this is a pointer to the fact that the Bola Tinubu government is seriously working.
How come we are having this resurgence? The intels you took, or did you not interrogate those who surrendered? Didn't you get any intel from them? The intel you got from them, have you acted upon it? Then those ones that claim to have surrendered, are you sure that they are still not more giving intel from your hand to their people? How come the problem has not been solved? So that's nullify whatever argument they want to put forward. That's just my take. So you cannot be telling us you're achieving something and we see here people die of gunshots. Some people still go to communities to ravage them and kill.
Well, some people say that insecurity is not peculiar to Nigeria, that we have security breaches all across the globe.
We have security breaches all across the globe. But let's pick the US, for instance. The US have the highest number of cases of gun violence all over the world. Why? Because you can buy gun the way you are buying bread across the counter over there, in as much as you can afford it. But we don't have such freedom to buy arms and ammunition here. How are those ammunitions getting to the hands of these things? I watched a video on my WhatsApp the other day, and this video was made by the bandits themselves, and they sent it down to the social media. If it is one innocent civilian talking to the president, the police will know how to trace the source of that video. The source of this particular one has not been traced, because if that had been traced, we would have seen evidence that truly they traced the video and they were able to apprehend some people. You understand? Now, in that video, more than 80, if not 100, bandits were moving inside the forest. And out about 80, 100 of them, not less than 80 were carrying either AK-47 rifle or RPG. These are not cheap equipment, Israel. An AK-47, the rifle alone, is more than $500,000 for used rifle. Maybe third hand, it's more than $500,000. Now imagine the bullets, the cost of the bullets. Now imagine how much an RPG will cost. Rocket propelled grenade, that is what RPG is, what we call in local parlance bazooka. You understand? They have these weapons in their possession. They have anti-aircraft guns in their possession. These are things that even the Nigerian police do not have. The military do have, but They don't bring them out anyhow. How did they get
those weapons.
those weapons? And there are people who are eyewitnesses in their respective communities that helicopters will fly in, drop these things, and fly out in our airspace. Come on. Are we that porous? Or some people decide to be looking the other way? It's just like when we talk about oil thefts. You understand? There is a radar in every naval station that would detect the number of vessels within that radius. How come they will not detect this thing? The Navy knows those who are stealing the oil.
So they are enemies within.
You understand? It's a huge case of an elaborate conspiracy between those inside of the government, those in the military and police echelon, and the community leaders themselves. Because if there's an emir in a community and killings are going on and he is not talking, you understand? He is also an accomplice. So these are issues that we are dealing with. And that's why I look at the president, I expect him to be so hungry right now. And these people are so determined that when you even see a chief trying to be serious with that thing, something will just happen. The last two chief of army staff that died under mysterious circumstances were the ones that were actually doing the right thing, taking the battle to the insurgents. One died in a plane crash, and report has it that there were two parachuters that came out of that plane before it crashed. Villagers saw them. The military swept it under the carpet. They say it was. And the black box was not recovered, or whether it's recovered or not investigated, only God knows. But that was where it ended. It was a cover-up. When the Augusta helicopter was procured by Buhari, the young lady, Tolulope Arosile, that was flying the copter, what happened to her? They told us somebody was reversing inside the barrack, and through reverse, knocked her down and she died. That's a lie. You understand? And since the lady died, we've not heard anything about the Augusta use again. If Taoreed Lagbaja had had cancer before he became chief of army staff, he wouldn't have been appointed. The military do not keep hailing officers in their ranks, let alone a general. Do you understand what I'm saying? Am I making sense to you? Now, suddenly he had cancer. As far as I'm concerned, it was poison. I may not have evidence, but I know that people don't die like that.
Allegedly now.
People don't die like that. So let's just leave. So I'm just bringing out these instances so we know that there is huge conspiracy there.
Going
on there. Zamfara is boiling. Sokoto is peaceful. Why? Sokoto is where the Sultan is. So when you look at all these things, you begin to ask questions. Niger is not safe. Sokoto is safe. Why? Kaduna is boiling. So those Kano is not experiencing any of such. Jigawa has been very peaceful. So you know they pick their battlefield.
We have been talking about this conspiracy for some years now, enemies within and all of that. It has been on the front burner for quite a number of years. How do we deal with this? Because if indeed there are enemies within, then we should have a clear-cut path to deal with them.
For you and I, there's nothing we can do other than what we are doing now. Talk about it. Those who could do something are the National Assembly and the executive arm of government. Why did I mention the National Assembly? You may say they are not the one that will give command. They are the lawmakers. Let them pass the police from their own hand. Let us now see whether the president will refuse to sign it. If they have passed the bill, they have done their own part. Let's now we'll be able to turn our eyes to the president alone. Okay, Your Excellency, sir. What is that bill doing on your table without signature all along. Let him also sign the bill that has been passed, allowing states to own their police. Our focus will shift from them to the governors. Like, hey, you now have right to establish your independent state police. What are you waiting for? But for now, we can only look at that direction because the governors are incapacitated. I know they all know what to do. Somebody is saying Amotekun also has limitation. There are certain things Amotekun cannot do. Amotekun cannot take anybody to court, arrest and give to the police. If they arrest, give to the police, and the police decide to kill the person or set the person free and refuse to go to court, that is not Amotekun's problem again. So when they have all this limitation, for instance, in a true federalism, we are not only supposed to have state police, we have our state court system. We are supposed to have our state-owned prisons where we put state offenders inside. And anybody that will release those ones inside our state custody will have to deal with the government of the state. But no state prison, no state police. You only have state judiciary, and they will appeal to federal court, and from there the case disappears. So when you look at all these things, or you sentence the person at the state judiciary and be taken to the federal prison. And while in federal prison, they believe this person is in prison, they may do what we call prisoner exchange and smuggle the person out. So when you look at all these things, you see that the main problem we have is that criminals are getting away from the crimes they commit. And that is why we keep having more and more crimes being committed.
Now, some people have also pointed out the issue of de-radicalization and reintegrating terrorists, into the military. And some people will say that this is not the right way to go if you want to deal with this issue.
It is an error. An error. You don't do such. Punish criminals. It is those other ones that you are looking at that are not yet being radicalized that you can now give the right orientation to, and what you want to use those ones that have been radicalized can never repent. We've had cases. Those are the ones behind the resurgence in Borno that we're talking about. You say you want to repent. So imagine, how do you reintegrate those people? Someone that is a known terrorist, you now say, okay, he repents. Those whom he has killed their parents or their family members, will they be looking at him and be at peace with him? They will not. They won't. So what kind of reintegration are you talking about? Like, okay, you want to put them in the military, they begin to compromise, leak intels to their pay masters. Because we need to really do certain things in the right way. For instance, the issue of religion, we need to take a stand as a state. If we say Nigeria is a secular state, then stop promoting religious activities. Stop. Because promotion of religious activity is even one of the reasons why it's one of what these people are hiding under. I was reading a post somewhere and somebody was saying that the Muslim community should denounce openly these insurgents because they use the Islamic identity always. And they have been keeping quiet. How do they expect the non-Muslims to see them as not being behind it? That's reasonable in a way, Abi. But that is not coming. Imagine a old sheikh going in there to take pictures with them, speaking and attempting to negotiate with government on their behalf. What does that tell you? Is their godfather, Abi? So when I heard I was denied entry into Saudi Arabia, they are not supposed. It's not the only one. They are supposed to deny all of them that came under government sponsorship. Now, that will make sense and send real message down to those people. But when you continue to pamper them, treat them with gift gloves and all that, so you know how long it took. Up till now, bandits have not been described by the government as terrorists. They rather call them bandits. But they are quick to declare IPOB terrorists.
Terrorist group.
So compare what IPOB was demanding for. What will the bandits claim that they are demanding for? Do they have known identity? No. Do they have known territory that they are domiciled in? No. So what exactly is the cause they are fighting for? We understand Boko Haram, which is more or less an hypocrisy anyway, because you say Western education is a crime. The bomb and the ammunition you are using are product of the
So,
same Western education. So who is deceiving who? So these are issues that we are dealing with. So and until we begin to become serious as a nation, why do you think most people are jackpotting? Those who are even jackpotting, they are not poor people. They are people that ordinarily are comfortable, but they look at the future of their children and the way the government is misbehaving. They cannot allow their children to grow under these circumstances where nothing can be predictable. So that's the problem that we are dealing with. And until we see seriousness, I expect the president to have been to Benue by now. That is where you know serious leadership. To see things firsthand. That's not been there. It's not even concerned. Rather, they are going to play his 2 years documentary all over the media this evening. Can you imagine? That is what concerns them. Politics. That's the only thing they think about, and it's a shame. It's really a shame. We are really in serious mess in this country.
now, I was talking about the issue of reintegrating terrorists into the military, the radicalizing them, and all of that. Some people will say that there is a benefit to this in a way, in the sense that it could be a veritable tool when it comes to intelligence gathering, which is one area that we have to look into as far as our security architecture is concerned. That these repent or these are terrorists who have now been reintegrated into the military could be useful when it comes to intelligence gathering. And that has been the argument of some experts.
Which intelligence gathering? You don't need to reintegrate them to gather intelligence. Interrogation alone will give you that. So that one is just a ruse. It's just life from the pit of hell, meant by their sponsors to make them to escape punishment, because they know if they don't allow, if they should allow them to be punished, they may trace the thing back to them. That's just the reality. No, it's only people like them who are not having anything on their brain that can believe that. Right thinking people will know that no, there's a plot, that's just an avenue for cover up. Just like the Navy will say they destroy a vessel stealing products, crude oil. Why will you destroy the evidence? You are supposed to arrest the vessel, take those who are the crew into custody and interview them. Who are their paymasters? That is how to do proper investigation if you want to solve a crime. You understand? And that's why the area bombardment that we are talking about, that they are shouting, it's even not a not too good enough approach. You understand? These people, as many as they may be, I doubt if they are up to 2 million. I'm talking about bandits now and the insurgents put together. Now, if you do a coordinated effort, you have people who have volunteered, local people supporting you, giving you intel. More people will support if you can guarantee their safety. Because why people stop supporting them is that when they do so, and you leave their community, those people will come back and pick out those whom they have suspected to have given intel and slaughter them before they are kinsmen, and issue a threat to others that this is what will happen to you too if you do the same thing. And when those ones now see them passing by the following day, they will just mind their business. That's why they've not been getting anything. But if you make a coordinated effort, arrest all of them, now secure their borders so that they will not have access to those community again. When they see strangers, they will put a call across to you, knowing fully well that they will be protected. But when you will leave them to themselves to come and be slaughtered again, they will not give you any information. That is what the government have not been doing right. And it's not that they can. This thing doesn't even cost much. You may not even need human being to even do your surveillance for you. Why do we have drones? Is it that expensive? Drone is cheaper than Tucano as far as I know. Why are you choosing to buy Tucano and not the drones? Because you make more money from the contract than. So it's all about politics and corruption. That's the problem. That's what is. That's
killing insecurity
that
in
is
Nigeria.
what is not killing, but promoting. That's what is promoting it. And until we do something serious about this issue, the president cannot say she be the ministers of defense are northerners, the minister of police affairs are northerners, the NSA are not. It goes beyond that. It just goes beyond this.
Now, there's a recent report by the Amnesty International, the Human Rights Watch group, and it has been established that about 10,000 Nigerians have been killed, or have died as a result of banditry and terrorism in the last 2 years under Tinubu's watch. And of course, some people have criticized that report. Some people are doubting the veracity. I want you to speak to that.
Anything that comes from Amnesty International, Sumbo Badejoko can never believe it.
And why is that?
Because I know that they exist to promote crisis and not to solve. And how do they promote? By this year fake reports that they throw out there. As far back as 2019, if a junior colleague of mine has a friend who got a job in one of these NGOs and was posted to Maiduguri. 2019, that's 6 years ago, right? Now, when the guy got there, one thing he observed was that similar NGOs were coming into Maiduguri and they were renting apartments and were paying 5 years upfront. What does that tell you? If they are there to solve the problem, why would they be paying upfront? It means they are there to keep the problem on for the next 5 years. This is 2025. 6 years after, we are still talking about Maiduguri. And an amnesty will bring a report. And you expect me to believe that anybody believing that one is maybe one of them or benefiting from such negative reports. Yes, there are people, a lot of people have been killed. Yes, it has entered thousands, but 10 in 2 years, I know. They should tell somebody else that one, not me. Me, I'm not that gullible.
You don't believe, you don't trust the credibility of Amnesty International.
I will never, because I know they are mischievous. How come they only report Africa? Who's doing the counting of the gun violence in the US? Maybe they are international. Can't they be counting over there too? Or is that not enough crisis for a country to deal with? One madman going to his shopping mall and killing as many people as he can before they will gun him down. You understand? So why are they not counting? They are not allowed into Asian countries. So they thrive in Africa because we are so mumus here. We allow all manner of nonsense to happen in our territory.
So we shouldn't be swayed by the statistics coming from the Amnesty International.
That particular organization, anything that comes from there, people should not believe it. Over time, we've seen how they behave. And they are not alone. They have other affiliates. And part of them is the one I told you. I mean, renting 5 years up front. That's at 2019. And 6 years after, we're still talking about the same thing.
Which means the government should begin to beam its searchlight on the
I will said on another platform that if I'm the
NGOs.
governor of Borno, I would have given all of them quit notice. They should operate from another state, not Maiduguri again. Yeah, I would send them away. He has the powers to do so. He can send them out. Let them stay in Abuja, not Borno.
Let's open the student lines for our dear listener to join the conversation this morning. We've been talking about security situation in Nigeria under Tinubu's watch in the last 2 years. And you also can air your opinions and your thoughts on the show this morning. 0706 639 1367, 0907 285 2977. 0706 639 1367, 0907 285 2977. Those are the numbers to call to be part of the program this morning. You can also drop a comment on our Facebook page, Pensioner Space FM. All right, now let's talk about the possible solutions to this issue of insecurity. Now, some people have said that the way to go is to, identify the root causes, of this insecurity. Some people have pointed to poverty. They've said, oh, there's the issue of poverty, and that must be dealt with economic inequality. And some people will say that these are the root factors that must be addressed.
Yes, they are part of the causes. Illiteracy is also one of them. And I have mentioned one, that we should stop promoting religious activities. It's another root cause to all these things. And if you want to solve the illiteracy problem, will you enjoy the cooperation of those in government at that end? A state just declared 2 weeks just for Ilea. 2 weeks. There was a government that declared almost a month for Ramadan the other time. So when you see schools being shut down on religious ground, you expect them to get education. And they will write the same WAEC exam with those who have not missed school for a day. Then we are not serious. That is one. We need to really be serious. Number one solution is that for government to now develop the political will to solve these things. Second one, there should be mass orientation about the dangers. Then boost the confidence of people in the respective community on not keeping quiet whenever they see something that is strange. Then we need to find a way to embark on what is called urbanization of the rural areas. Take development down there so that the place will not be too porous. There are so many ungoverned space that we have all over this country, and those are the breeding ground for the activities of these people. The ultimate one is state policing. If you are talking about security, it's high time. We've needed this since the year 2000. Let's just have it now. Whatever arguments coming from any quarter, those are people who are benefiting from the status quo.
Some people say that the governors, may begin to abuse.
In as much as the federal police will not be disappearing, let the governors abuse it, and the federal will intervene there. That's how to check. There are so many cases that maybe LAPD or NYPD will be handling, and the FBI will say, no, we're interested in this case. Some will even graduate to the level of the CIA if it has to do with espionage. So there will be checks. So whoever is bringing that narrative is either uninformed or mischievous. We have not tried something we are saying is going to fail. What kind of mindset is that?
What about the issue of funding? Funding.
That one is
That's another.
That is
another
not even
area.
That is not even an issue at all. How is Amotekun being funded as we speak? Aside Amotekun, we have within the state again Oitrima. How are they being funded? Do you understand what I'm saying? So funding is not an issue. Despite the fact that Oyo State is funding Amotekun, funding Oitrima, all the utility vehicles that these people, this regular police move about with was bought by the Oyo State government. If they have their own state police, they will use that money to fund it. So funding is not an issue. Anybody talking about funding is being mischievous. It is an excuse that we should not accept. We need state police. It's as simple as that. There's no alternative to it. In a federal system, we don't have any alternative to it. The federal police is kept in the way so that one region will continue to dominate the others. That is the reason. Because all these criminals that we're talking about, they come from a particular region. And they were terrorizing every other place because they know they will have protection. Because their people are in the rank and file of these security forces. And so, in as much as they enjoy protection, they can do whatever they like. And when somehow the community has upper hand, you begin to hear justice for this, justice for that. How can somebody leave Kanu and be saying you want to come and hunt in Edo? Or you're even going to Port Harcourt to hunt? Don't you have enough forest that you can hunt there? You understand what I'm saying? And when they were now killed, were asking justice. Those people that were claiming justice for those hunters then, have they said anything about the Benue people now? They have kept quiet. Because it is not their people that have been killed. But if the Benue governor has state police, they will not be able to go near their state. So funding is an excuse. It's not a reason. And it's not an excuse that we should accept. We should all condemn it and demand holistically for state police. This is the time to do it. And if this man, President Buhari Tinubu, will have a legacy that Nigerians will appreciate, state policing is one of them. Because all the economic policy you are putting, the people need to be secured before they can enjoy or benefit from the policies. You need to secure environment before investors will come. No investors will come into an insecure environment. We are supposed to be embarking on agricultural revolution. But it is the last people that were killed were farmers. Imagine 58 farmers. If one of them is cultivating an hectare of land, that's 15 plots. Multiply that by 58. That's the number of hectares that will be left uncultivated. Because the people that are cultivating it, plus those that would have run away due to fear of also being killed, and we are complaining of high cost of food, it will be more expensive. Because down south, we are not using our land for agriculture. We are using it for real estate. And where the food are coming, you are terrorizing the place. And we are having a growing population. So these are crises on its own. When the government is serious about the future, then you need to do something about all this.
People have also been talking about adopting, some technological innovations like AI, so as to further reinforce our security architecture in the nation.
And as much as I know, AI does not exist in isolation. Still need human to do it.
Definitely.
And the human are not serious. So how would the AI function? That's the problem. We need to be serious as human beings first before we begin to talk about technology. You understand? It's all in our mindset. Why do you choose to buy Tucano instead of drone? It's in our mindset, because that one suits your interest more than the other one. So the human being, need to first of all modify our thoughts and be ready to do the right thing before we begin to talk about those other ones. It's just like people asking for electronic voting, and we are not matured to use such devices yet. We need to first of all be mature to play the game fairly. But in an election where you declare holiday, you put security everywhere. That means we don't have the sense to do the right thing on our home without being coerced or being monitored. That is what it means. My friend, in the last UK election, went to cast his votes 9:30 p.m. in the night because he had to go to work, and it was when he came back from work that he went to his polling booth to cast his votes 9:30 p.m. and by 12:30, 3 hours later, they've announced the results. That is a country that knows what they are doing. That's a country where they don't need to police them before they do the right thing. You understand? Until we also get mature to that level, then we can be talking about all these things that you're mentioning.
All right, finally on the show this morning, your charge to the Bola Tinubu government as he continues his tenure.
Only one statement. You should look at the masses. He has satisfied the elite enough. The masses needs him more than the elite. And he needs the masses more than the elite. That's the only thing I'll tell you.
All right, I'll take that as your final charge on the show this morning. I must really appreciate you, Mr. Adesumbo Badijoko, a media consultant and public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for your time and contributions on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
And of course, to you, dear listener, thanks for being a part of the program. Trending from the Stable South Pensioners 106.7 FM. That's the size of the show for this week. On behalf of the producer of Trending, Babatude Tiamiu, the DCA on duty, Oluwashun Aoyemi MC Prince, and the entire members of production crew, I am Israel Adejumobi, and I'm saying, being a good citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. God bless Nigeria.
Regina, how do you describe a good radio station?
It should educate, give information, and entertain.
You got it right, girl.
Yes, she really did.